Hello pattern lovers, you're welcome and welcome back. It's yet another exciting tutorial, and in today's video we'll be drafting this dress. It looks so simple but has so much details going on which makes it stylish. First, we have the tie and drop high neckline. We also have the low neckline, which is the keyhole. We have the stylish sleeve, the bustier, and a well contoured skirt. So in this particular tutorial, I'll be showing you the detailed process of drafting this to fit thy body. And if you're in for all of that, kindly watch this video to the end and let's get right into it. So we start with the front upper bodies, and I already have a starting point line marked out and they have length. So I'm now going to start from that starting point line, which will serve as the shoulder line, and go down to the bust point. I'm using 10 inches, then the under bust 13 and a half. Then I'm going to mark it across this way and go ahead and label it bust point, under bust, and then the waistline. The next thing I'm going to do is on the shoulder line, divide the shoulder measurement by 2 and go down to the chest line. Then I'm going to get the shoulder measurement again on that point just so I have a straight line. Then I'm going to use my ruler to mark it out this way. That's the chest line. The next thing now is to mark 3 inches here to slope the shoulder and then come down here 1.5. Then I'm going to slant it to the 3 inches. This way, whatever neckline we are going for is going to contour the neckline for us. Now I'm going to measure what I have here left, divide it into 2. Then on that point, I'll be going in by ½ inch. Then I'm going to divide the bust measurement by 4 plus extra ½ inch and mark it on the chest line. First, I'm going to slant it to the shoulder tip this way, then curve from the bust measurement to the chest line tightening this way. Do you get that? The next thing now is to get the bust span on the bust point and also on the waistline. Your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, you mark that on the bust point line and also on the waistline. On both sides of this line now, on the waistline, I'll be marking 0.75. Then going to the under bust, I will mark 0.75 going to the center. Then place my 2 inches on the 0.75. That way, I just use 2 inches to tighten the under bust. So that's like 0.75 going to the center front. Then going to the side, I have 1.25. That's a total of 2 inches. Okay, so I'll connect it out this way. Then I already have the bust measurement on the chest line. I'll come to the waistline and divide the waist circumference by 4. Then add the 1.5 I used as the dart intake on the waistline. Now I'll come down here on the bust point line by 1.5 for for the bust dart, and that's the difference between my front and the back length. Next thing I'll do now is to go up by 3.5 for my over bust. You can also decide to go up from your chest line 1.5 or 2 inches. That depends on how high your cleavage is. Do you get that? Now I'm going to measure the shoulder slope line. That's from the shoulder tip to the 3 inches I used to slope the shoulder. Do remember that? Then I'll divide it into 2, mark it, and then connect it to meet the bust span this way. Now on both sides of this line, on the over bust line, I'm going to tighten the over bust with 1.5. That's 0.75 on both sides, something like this. Then you're now going to connect this straight, like you're making it like you're extending the curve you already have from the other under bust to the bust point. You're trying to like extend it and not make it curvy. Do you get? Then coming to the side now, you can decide to make it curvy but not too curvy. This is over bust and your boobs is not bigger going up. It's actually the other way around. So now I use 1.5 to tighten the over bust. I'm going to take half of that, which is 0.75. Then I'll come here and go out by 0.75. This way you're trying to replace whatever you used to tighten the over bust without doing too much. Do you get? And of course you're going to recurve your armhole that way. The neckline is just going to go straight like that to the armhole. Now I'm going to go in by 3.5. That's 3.5 for the neck width. You can do whatever you usually use for your turtleneck, but for what is on the thumbnail is really not tight when you look at it. So what I did here is 3.5 by 2.5 instead of 2.5 by 2.5 that I usually use, or 3 inches by 3 inches that you usually use. So now from the shoulder I'm going down to the neck depth for the keyhole, and I'm using 8 inches. And now to connect the sweater shape, I'm going to measure these two dot lines and measure this other one. So this going to the center is shorter, and I'm going to make it meet, like be the same value with what I have on the side that leg. And now I'm going to place my ruler this way and give it that sweetheart shape, something like this. So now I'll come to this neckline on the neck depth here and go in 1 inch. You can do 0.75, but 1 inch is also fine. Then I'll be using my pencil because we'll still be working on the yoke. Okay, and then slant it this way to the 1 inch I have on the neck depth. Yeah, the high neck depth. Now we'll go over to the back pattern, and the first thing I'll do is to start from the center back line and divide the shoulder measurement by 2 on the shoulder line. Then I'll go down to the chest line. Then on that point again, I'll divide the shoulder measurement by 2 and then mark it out just so I have a straight line. There is nothing serious about that. Then I'm now going to mark the 3 inches I used to slant the shoulder, then the 3.5 I'm using as my actual neck width. Then I'll come down here by 1 inch for the shoulder slope of the back. Then slant it to the 3 inches this way. Now I'm going to come down here by ½ inch. Then I'll place my ruler this way and give it a round shape this way. The only mistake I made there is that this didn't get to the that 3.5. But don't worry, while cutting it, I realized my mistake and I corrected it. Now from the shoulder line, I'll go down to the back length, which is 15.5. So the 1.5 I have here, the shortage I have here now is the same 1.5 I used as the bust dart. That's the difference between my front length and the back length. Then on the waistline, from the center back, I'll come in 1 inch, then place my curve this way and contour it to the up like this because the center back is not straight. And I also use 1 inch because I am not doing any darts for the back. So I'll now start from this new line and divide the bust measurement by 4 and minus ½ inch for the back and curve the armhole this way. Then I'll go down on the waistline and divide the waist circumference by 4. There is no dart intake here, so I'm not replacing any dart. Then I'm going to connect it to the bust measurement like this. The next thing I'll do now is to follow the center back contour line and add my zipper allowance of 1 inch. Whatever zipper allowance you usually use, go ahead and add it at this point. But before connecting it, I'll be going down to 9 inches, and that's where the yoke will be sitting. Do you get? So I'll slant it this way or curve it out this way. Then from this center back now, I'll be coming in by 2 inches because I want to have something like a keyhole and not leave the back like that. Then 2 inches going in, and I'm going to place my curve this way, going to the neck depth on the neckline. Yeah, I'll be going in by 0.25, just something like this, so that by the time you add your fastener, it's going to be well seated on your back and not gape. Do you get? The next thing now is to recurve this neckline because I feel like it's kind of deep for the high neckline. Now I'm going now to connect my zipper allowance going to where the lace will stop, and I won't be adding any zipper allowance going to the upper part because of the keyhole we are doing there. Okay, the next thing I'll do now is to tighten the yoke, and there are many ways to do that, but the easiest way I do that is to come up here by 1 inch. Then going to the armhole, I go up ½ inch. So 1 inch going to the center, then ½ inch going to the armhole this way. This way, it will not gape. By the time you fix your yoke to the bodice, it's really going to sit pretty well. So now we have the back yoke, and I'm going to cut this out. First, I would have to separate the pattern, or basically cut out the back pattern first before we go over to cut the front pattern. Body on jet, jet, jet. I throw them more to pepper them. To you, to my tools, causing go bed. Pato pepe rempe, Joe on my shemile shade. I don't wanna hear her say. Now to cut the front pattern, I'm going to open up the dart all the way to the bust point, then fold in the bust dart this way, apply my water glue, and then place the bust dart on the bust point line like this. Something like that. Then I'm going to blend in the side line because you can see that it's now distorted. And of course, I'm going to cut out the bustier and then work on the yoke. So now the first thing I'll do is to tighten this line, and I'll be going up by half inch. Then I'll come here on the armhole by 0.25. So if you notice, we are using the actual armhole we already have, because we'll still be working on the armhole. Don't worry, keep watching. And I'm going to connect it this way. Then I'll highlight this line. Remember I said we'll still be working on the yoke, and this is the front yoke. So I'm going to cut it out now, then we do the next step. So after cutting it out and matching it up here, I'm now going to contour it the like how much I want, because if your pattern is looking good, your dress is going to come out right. But if you have any pointy edge and you ignore it like that on your pattern, it's also going to reflect on your fabric. So yeah, I would cut out all the pointy parts and make this look nice on the pattern. And even after transferring to the fabric, I'll do the same thing so that my dress will come out so well. So yeah, this is what we have now. The yoke is matching up with the bustier, and then we have the center front this way. The next thing I'll do now is to also match up the side front and then the side back. The back is usually longer on the armhole, yeah, just longer, so you can decide to like trim it on the armhole or on the waistline, whichever one you choose to do. But like I said, it's best to fit your pattern before transferring to the fabric and even after transferring to the fabric. So now we have the full pattern set for the upper part. So now we'll be keeping this aside, then we'll be working on the skirt. For the skirt, you will still get the point, but I'm not using a real human being length. I think the length is the only thing here. I have the waistline, the hip line, the knee line, and then the skirt length. Now for the skirt length, you're going to measure all the way to your ankle, then you're adding between 4 to 7 inches depending on how long you want your skirt to be, and also depending on your high heel. Do you get? So from your actual skirt length, you're adding 4 to 7 inches to the length. Now on the waistline, I'm going to divide the waist circumference by 4 plus extra 0.25. Do you get? Then I'll come to the hip line and divide the hip circumference by 4 minus half inch. Are you getting the point? So I have 8.5 here, then I'm going to go in by half inch from that 8.5, meaning that I have 8 inches left. Then I'm going to connect it to the waist measurement, which I said is the waist circumference divided by 4 plus extra 0.25. So whatever you have on the hip line, you're measuring it this way, your whole hip circumference. Then you're going to minus 2 inches or 2.5, depending on how contoured you want the knee to be. So here I'm doing something like 2.5. Do you get? So you're going in from your hip circumference by 2.5 on the knee, and then you're going to extend it from the hip to that measurement. And then whatever you have on the knee, you're going to take it down like this. You're going to take it down to the skirt length this way, and then of course you extend from the knee down like this. So this part is not looking all right. I'm kind of trying to blend it in to look better. Now going over to the back part, whatever you use to contour the waistline for the upper part, use the exact value here. Remember I used 1 inch for the upper part, I'm doing the same 1 inch here. Then you're going in on your knee with the same thing you have on the waist. Okay, so normally you're supposed to like connect from here to the hip line, but we will still be contouring it. So you're going from your hip down to your under butt. You might have to measure that for you to be sure. Then whatever you use to contour the knee, you're taking it up to that your under butt line, and then you're going to extend something like this. Now, remember we minus half inch from the hip circumference on the front hip line. You are now going to divide that by 2 and add half of it going out from the center back. Okay, that's 0.25, yeah. But this part is very crucial because if you don't sew it right, that part is going to like pop out, like poke out and not look nice. But because I'm here to show you how to cut this right, we are doing that. So 0.25 going out on the hip line from the center back going out. Then you're going to blend it in this same way you see me do it. You saw how I placed my curve to contour from the hip down to the underbutt line. Now on the waistline, I'll be following this new contour line and divide the waist circumference by 4 minus 0.25. Then on the hip line, the hip circumference divided by 4 plus 0.25. Whatever it is I have on the knee, I'm going to mark it here too on the knee. Then I'm going to connect the measurements this way. And to do the down part, I'll first have to extend the center back contour line down to the hem of the skirt, something like this. Then I'm going to take what I have on the knee all the way to the length of the skirt this way. That's pretty much about it. So this is not looking all nice, but after cutting this out, you will see how nice um it will come out. Okay, now follow the center back contour line and add your zipper allowance, whatever value you usually use for your zipper allowance. Then you can decide for your slit to start from your underbust line. But one thing is certain, your slit should be high enough if you're going for a contoured fit so that you can walk. Okay, you contour the skirt so you can go down from your underbutt by 2 inches or 3 inches, at most 5 inches. Okay, so that you can walk freely. Then you're going to follow the same step, the same way you used to contour the center back to also blend in the zipper allowance this way, and then you take the allowance all the way down depending on the kind of finishing you want to do for your slit. Okay, and that's pretty much about it for this skirt. This skirt fits very well, trust me. And now, after blending it in, I'm going to simply cut this out. Like I said, um, cutting this out also means a lot. So you have to take your time and cut it very well. You can see how I blended the knee. And after cutting it out, this is how sweet it's looking. I'm also going to cut this one, making sure I blend in where I should blend in, that I didn't use my pencil to do that. And after cutting the back pattern out, this is what it looks like. You can see how sweet this came out. This is already looking like a good fit. And trust me, if you sew it right, it's going to come out better. So now we are done with the skirt. We are going to keep that aside and go back to the upper part. And what we'll be doing now is the collar. Okay, there's a collar and there's a strip. So what you will be doing now is to, after sewing the yoke or joining the shoulder, you're going to measure your neckline. But if you want to do it on your pattern, it's still okay. Just match up the shoulder, like bring them together, and then you're going to carefully measure around the neckline. Whatever you measured, remember you're going to double that because this is just one side of the neckline. The other side is going to be the same value. Then let's assume that this is your fabric. Okay, ignore that the other part has some shortage. So what you're going to do is to bring it to a bias fold. Just fold it because you'll be cutting this collar on bias. It's going to your neckline, and whatever is going to your neckline should be cut on bias. Okay, then you're going to fold it into two again. I'll just be cutting from one side of the neckline, but for you to do it this way means that you want to cut rounding for the, yeah, for the whole neckline. That's for the both side of the neckline. Now you're going to mark what you measured on the neckline. Since this is on fold, you can, I measured 7 inches here. You can just mark 7 inches. By the time you open it up, it's going to be 14 inches. But like I said, I'm doing this for one side of the neckline. So yeah, I just marked 3.5. Then the height, I'm doing 2.5 because I'm cutting this like I'm cutting it with the sewing allowance. So 2.5 work just fine. Otherwise, you should do the neck height, the collar height should be 1.5, 1.75 or 2 inches. That's it. So after cutting it out, this is what it looks like. And then you're going to fold in the allowance this way. Of course, you'll be sewing it. I'm just trying to illustrate. You fold in the added allowance this way, and then you fold the collar again like this. Of course, you're going to sew it here and also here, but here is what you will do. Here is how this strip is going to go in. The collar is going to come like this on your neckline. Yeah, this is the front part, this way. Then you're going to bring in a strip. For this particular one, you don't need to cut it on bias, just cut it straight and as long as you want it to go. Okay, as long as you want it to drop after tying it on your neckline. Then you're going to make the one end thin like this, as thin as you see me do it here. Then it's going to go like this on the collar, which means you have to place it in a way that after turning the collar, it will come out this same way I show you here. But that's pretty much about the collar. Now for the sleeve, you're going to cut your basic sleeve, your long length from the shoulder all the way to your wrist and even beyond the wrist. Okay, then you're not going to measure round the like your round your wrist this way. Whatever you measure there, you're going to times it by 2, by 3, or by 4, depending on how full you want the pleat that will go there. Yeah, depending on how much you want the pleat to be. Okay, so whatever you measure around here, you're going to cut out a straight fabric that the length should be 6 or 7 inches. Then the width is going to be times 4 of what you measured on your wrist, or times 3 or times 2, depending on how full you want your pleat to be. Then you're going to pleat it like this on the hem of your basic sleeve, just something like this. The sleeve is not hard, is it? It's not. So yeah, it's going to go like this with your pleat, and yeah, it's going to come out where once you get the length right. So yeah, that's pretty much about it for this sleeve and even for this whole dress. Now we have the two pieces for the sleeve, then we have the skirt, we have both the front skirt and then the back skirt. You have one pieces of the front skirt and then two pieces for the back skirt. Then we have the back upper part, and then we have the center front of the upper part, we have the side front of the upper part. So all of this, you're cutting this on your lace. All this one that I have, let me take the sleeve out. So all of this one now, you're cutting it with your actual lace fabric, like your main fashion fabric. Then the yoke, the back yoke, the front yoke, the collar strip, the sleeve, the two pieces of the sleeve, you're cutting these ones with your chantilly lace. So all of this one with your chantilly lace, the sleeve, yeah, the two pieces of the sleeve, the collar strip, the front yoke, the back yoke with your chantilly lace. Then these other ones, you're cutting that with your lace fabric. So yeah, go ahead and transfer this to your fabric, add the necessary allowance, and happy sewing. And with that, I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.